Man, I'm exhausted. Can this team just put another team away in the third or early in the fourth and not just make every game, come down to the last second? Oh my gosh. I don't know how this keeps happening, man. I really don't. But a win's a win. Bears win. 19-17 over the Minnesota Vikings. It's Ben Johnson's first win over a divisional opponent. Only one more win until he ties Matt Eberflus's career record against the NFC North. Oh my God, I'm so happy we don't have to play Brian Flores again. Oh my gosh, that guy is a psychopath. First off, if you can tell anything different from my voice, I'm not feeling great. And as some of you know, I'm also in sports broadcasting. I called 6 basketball games over the last 2 days, so forgive me. My voice is a little shot, and I'm a little under the weather, so you're going to have to deal with it today. It's going to be fine. But how about those Bears, man? Oh, that shouldn't have been a game. That shouldn't have been a game. But hey, win's a win. I'm going to apologize for winning in this league. Look, this game was offensively incredibly frustrating. The Chicago Bears still somehow had over 300 yards of offense. The biggest problem, they only had 19 points to show for it. I think this might be their worst offensive output this year. I know they only scored 16 against Baltimore, but with the amount of plays that the Bears had in offense in plus territory, they should have been able to put some more points on the board. And it's not like they failed in the red zone. They were only 1 of 2 from the red zone, and they scored on both possessions, so it was a touchdown and a field goal. The problem was they couldn't even get into the red zone. They were getting across midfield pretty much no problem, but Brian Flores and his defense was keeping this Bears team out of the red zone. They did a really good job throughout this game. Brian Flores, if you were questioning his quality as a defensive coordinator, this proved to me he's one of the best defensive coordinators in the league because he's got his scheme and he's got the guys on that team to make this scheme work. And despite them being down Jonathan Grenard, that linebacking core still played a hell of a game. I mean, seriously, they had Swiss Army knife Josh Metellus pretty much fill in when he needed to. Andrew Van Ginkel, Blake Cashman, and Josh Metellus were elite for the Vikings today. And that's the big reason why they were in this game late. The defensive line pressure would get through, but Caleb Williams was performing some escape, acrobatics as he did last week. 1 sack in particular from Dallas Turner, he had him dead to rights. He got away from it. I know he threw that ball away, but the fact that he didn't get sacked on that play is insane. There were another 2 or 3 plays where it's just like, oh my gosh, how did he get out of that sack? That being said, it's really weird because Caleb Williams did get sacked twice in this game. And it pretty much took more than one guy to bring him down both times. The first one was on a first down. He tried to escape and go take off and run. Didn't get through. And then Andrew Van Ginkel with a nice solo tackle to get him back behind the line of scrimmage on a 3rd down in the 4th quarter. Andrew Van Ginkel is such a great player, guys. I'm really frustrated we got to play him twice a year. That entire linebacking core scares me so much. They're the lifeblood of that Brian Flores defense. If they're playing well, the entire defense is playing well. Look, I'll be honest. The Caleb Williams experience has been much better than the Justin Fields experience so far in his career. And while his final stat line doesn't really impress a lot of people, I know a lot of us want 300 yards and multiple passing touchdowns, no picks every week. That's just not going to happen. That's not the league that the NFL is. This is a tough defense. Lamar Jackson didn't even throw for 200 yards against this Vikings defense last week. So, putting it in perspective there, this Vikings defense is a tough group to go up against. Here's the thing. Caleb Williams came through in some big scenarios throughout this game when this team was behind the sticks. 2nd and 24 early in the game after a botched exchange, losing 14 yards. He throws a nice pass to Odunze to set up 3rd and short, which they would convert. Another play. Now into the second half, to Odunze early on 2nd and long. And then Odunze gets up, and the entire team with a nice tush push to not only pick up the first down, but another 5 yards afterwards. And then I like what this team was able to do in these scenarios because they were behind the sticks several times. Some penalties, some stuffed runs. Like, their first down offense was not very great. But I think that there's some nice resilience from this team in these do-or-die scenarios. They had 2 3rd and 13 conversions throughout this game. One on a screen pass to Luther Burden, which he was just able to steamroll right ahead for a first down. And then right after DJ Moore drops a pass right in the bucket on the 2nd and 13 in that fourth quarter, Caleb Williams dumps it off to Loveland, who then goes right ahead and picks up that first and more. So they had some nice plays on 3rd and long or 2nd and long, but I want to see this team stay ahead of the sticks because it was clear that this team started to struggle when they would get behind the sticks. I wouldn't say they got bailed out, but there were some good plays from high-end talent that kind of helped out along the way in these long down distance scenarios. Jeez. Look, and I was very happy to see this Bears team get possession of the football out of the halftime break with the lead. I really wanted them to score a touchdown, and they probably would have if they don't decide to hand it off to Travis Homer on an end around on 3rd and 5. I didn't like that play call from Ben Johnson. Did not make any sense whatsoever, in my opinion. Of course, there was a missed face mask call as well on that play. I think that play should just be designed better. They shouldn't need a face mask call to bail them out in that situation. Call a better play. That one puzzled me a lot. They settled for a field goal, which Santos has gotten a lot of flack this season and last year with the fact that his leg just isn't incredibly strong. But the guy's accurate, dude. The guy is pretty damn accurate. I know he missed a field goal in this game, but he had a 54-yarder, had a 48-yarder, a couple of shorter field goals. Like, if you get this ball inside the 50, he doesn't miss very often. And that's what's been nice having Santos as a kicker, is that you can rely on him to hit the shorter field goals. Now, would you like to see some distance? Absolutely. But I'm not too concerned about that because this team very rarely should be put in situations where they need to kick 60-plus yarders. And the more they're able to avoid those scenarios, the better. And I don't think that should be the thing that gets Santos kicked off the team because he's an accurate kicker. Look, I think Cairo Santos gets too much hate in this Bears fan base. I know a lot of people talk about his leg, but the guy's an accurate kicker. In his 6 seasons with Chicago, he has a conversion rate of 90% or better in 3 of them. The guy's an accurate kicker. He may not have the biggest leg, but dude, the guy does not miss. He hasn't missed a kick in a Bears uniform under 40 yards. That's the definition of money. I know that the leg is what concerns a lot of people, but he's accurate. I would rather have Cairo Santos, who may not be able to kick as far, but is accurate, as opposed to someone like Joey Sly, who can kick it from 65, 66, but he's a little bit less accurate. He'll miss inside 40 yards every now and then. He's a wildly inaccurate kicker. So I think Santos gets a little bit too much hate in this fan base, and despite him missing in this game once, he came through in the clutch and booted a 48-yard field goal to win it. Look, if there's one thing that I'm really frustrated with this offense about, it's the fact that they're kicking way too many field goals. They're kicking way too many field goals, in my opinion. This team has had now 4 instances where they have kicked 4 field goals en route to a win. It happened against Vegas, against Washington, against New Orleans, and it happened again here against Minnesota. Santos and Moody have taken the roles in 2 of those, respectively. I'm telling you, man, I really need to see this offense convert some of these positive drives into touchdowns. I'm getting real tired of them settling for field goals. If it happens once or twice in a row, fine. They were learning how to win games, honestly, with how bad last season was and how many one-score games this team has lost over the last couple of years. Seeing them just win one-score games is very nice. This is a game where I think they should have been able to put this team away much quicker. It should not have come down to a last-second kick. And the big reason why the Vikings stayed in it is because the team had to settle for field goals. And there's a credit to the Vikings defense for doing that, because it wasn't like they were getting stuffed in the red zone and had to settle for red zone field goals. They weren't even getting to the red zone. They only got to the red zone twice in this game. Scored 10 points out of it, but there were another 3 possessions where they kicked field goals. They didn't even get into the red zone. So I think that going forward, that's got to be the message. You've got to put teams away when you can, and you've got to convert these field goal drives into touchdowns, because that's the exact way this team puts a team like the Vikings away quicker. And I knew right when Caleb Williams was sacked by Andrew Van Ginkel early in the 4th, and then Price had that long field goal or punt return. It's like, they let him hang around too long, and now they're starting to find their groove. Touchdown on that drive. Bears would miss a field goal. I know the Vikings would score on the next drive. That's where I'm like, you're letting them hang around. And this is exactly what happened in week 1. They let the Vikings hang around until their offense found their footing. And that was what Brian Flores did great in week 1 with a first-time starting quarterback, with an offensive coordinator and a head coach that's trying to learn how to scheme with this quarterback. Struggling a little bit, but he's keeping them in it long enough for this offense to wake up. And he did it again. Only this time, they didn't come out victorious because they left too much time for Caleb Williams. And that's the big difference from week 1 to week 11. This Bears team is winning close games. They're now 5-1 in one-score games this year, and Caleb Williams has led 5 game-winning drives in the final 2 minutes of games this year. That's a new Bears single-season record. And we're in mid-November. This isn't a stat that is at a record that's being broken in January. They're breaking this in mid-November. You can say all you want. That's not a game-winning drive for Caleb Williams. He didn't do anything. He's the quarterback. His team was down a point. He had the ball. It was 3 runs in a row, and they kicked a field goal off a really good return. It still counts. Counts are the same. All right? You can hate it all you want, but it counts towards Caleb Williams' stat line. And look, it's probably a bit of a makeup for one of those drives that didn't work out last season. At least that's how I'm going to treat it. I'm going to treat it probably as a nice replacement for the game-winning drive that didn't end up being a game-winning drive against the Green Bay Packers or the Washington Commanders last year. Probably Washington, considering that Caleb Williams did score the touchdown to take the lead in that game. That should have been his first game-winning drive. It didn't happen because the Hail Mary. So I'm going to take this as credit for that drive, even though he didn't do too much in this specific game. One thing I love from the way that these team talks about games like this, DeAndre Swift said it in his interview with Tom Brady. Caleb Williams showed it on the sideline after Santos hit the winner. You can tell Caleb Williams won the game, but he's pissed because they had to win like this again. DeAndre Swift also said, we got to put teams away quicker. Ben Johnson in the locker room, he's being a bit more frustrated. You can tell, despite the win, like, hey, great job with the win. Got a lot of things to tune up. It's only going to get harder from here. Type of mentality, right? I don't know. That's not exactly what he said, but you get my point. The way that this team's not happy with the fact that they had to win this game at the very end again. And I'm hoping that with them having to do this 3 times in a row, 2 of which you had a multi-score lead and you blew it, I am very, very concerned that the proper adjustments are not being made if this happens week in, week out. I need to see this team comfortably win. And comfortably win by 2 possessions. I'm not saying they need to blow a team out by 3 or 4 scores. I'm just saying I need to see this team win by multiple possessions again. They haven't done that since week 7. They've done it just twice all year. They're getting a little lucky. They're looking a bit fraudulent in the grand scheme of things, but I will not be apologizing for wins. With the fact that this team lost so many one-score games over and over and over in brutal fashion under Matt Eberflus, I will not apologize for winning these one-score games that maybe they shouldn't be winning. I do not care. Wins are wins. The fact that this team is 7-3, I will gladly take. And this is supposed to be a year where this team grows. This isn't supposed to be a contending year. This is supposed to be a growth year to see if we can find out if Caleb Williams, A, is the guy, and B, Ben Johnson's the right head coach, which I think both of those are a yes just from the sole fact they're winning. I know that they're not winning the way that some Bears fans would like. I know some Bears fans would like this team to win by 3 scores every week. That's just not going to happen. That's not the reality of the NFL. Good teams lose to bad teams all the time. And the Bears don't have a terrible loss on their schedule right now. The worst loss of the year is against Minnesota week 1. Their other 2 losses are against a currently 6-3 Lions team that could be 7-3 after beating Philly tonight on Sunday Night Football. It could be. And now a 5-5 Ravens team. I know they were 1-5 when they played them, but they've won 4 in a row. And they were getting healthier going into that game. Like, I felt pretty confident that Baltimore was going to come out of an early season slump when they were playing the Bears. And they have. They haven't had like a truly terrible loss to a bottom feeder in this league this season. There are several good teams that have had bad losses. The Bears haven't had a truly bad loss yet, so I'll give them credit for that. But I also want to see them win a little bit more comfortably and not live and die in the fourth quarter. I want to see them put teams away in the third. I think that's going to be the next step because the first step, obviously, is just winning. Just winning is important. But I want to see this team win comfortably and be able to put games out of reach a little earlier. This is the point in the schedule where I think the Bears are going to show everyone if they're ahead of schedule and starting to contend now, or if they need another year to kind of gel as a group with this coaching staff, with this offensive system. And either way, it's fine, in my opinion. If they actually are ahead of schedule, I think that that's the dream. But if they kind of meet their match against Philly, Green Bay, Pittsburgh, San Francisco, Detroit, whatever, right? If they meet their match, fine. I want to see this team play a complete game. And they have not since week 7, and some people would argue that isn't even a complete game. Look, I'm fine either way. I know it might not be like, hey, if they miss the playoffs from here, it's going to be a collapse. I'm like, look, this is supposed to be a growth year from the very beginning. And look, and I'm going to be honest, I'm fine either way. If this team's ahead of schedule, I'll be extra happy because I treated this year as a growth year. Or at least went into the season knowing that, hey, if they win 8 or 9 games, but the coach seems to be the right decision, the quarterback seems to be improving, I'm going to be happy. But if this team is truly ahead of schedule with the amount of injuries they have defensively, this team is going to be very dangerous next season because they've got a pretty healthy offense right now. That's only going to get better the longer they're under Ben Johnson. The defense is really hurt right now. Again, yet another game this season without Johnson, Gordon, and Edwards. That's 3 of their top 5 defensive players. So when those guys get healthy, because Jalen Johnson might come back in a couple weeks, the estimated return's probably going to be when they play the Packers in Lambeau. So he might be coming through at the right time, and I would say play him because this team is in the playoff picture right now. If this was kind of what we were seeing last year where this team's falling apart, keep him out for the rest of the year. I think that's what they did with Brisker after his concussion. But if this team's ahead of schedule, home run. Look, this win is important for one reason only. It's a division win. Minnesota was 4-5 coming into this game. 2-0 in the NFC North. They would have been 3-0 if they'd won this game, and 5-5. They'd be in prime position to strike and maybe steal the NFC North this season. They now dropped 2-1. The Bears were 0-2 in division coming into this game. They get the win. They're now 1-2 in division. They now send Minnesota down to 4-6. They're at 7-3. There's a 3-game difference now, and there's a season split. So I think that's a very important win for the Bears for divisional standings pretty much exclusively. Look, I want to shout out a couple guys before this video is over. I want to shout out DeAndre Swift, who came through in the fourth quarter. Not his best day, but hey, carried the workload, 21 carries for 90 yards. Not the worst day I've ever seen in my entire life, but definitely could have been better. But again, tough Vikings defense. But he came through in the fourth quarter with several big runs, including right before the game-winning field goal attempt on, I think it was 3rd and 8, picking up about 6 or 7 yards, and setting up Cairo Santos, making it from the mid-50s to the high 40s, which is a much more makeable kick for Santos, and that was huge. And I also want to shout out Cole Kmet. The guy hasn't seen a ton of attention this year. He's kind of almost been relegated to tight end 2, but he led the team in receptions and was a nice safety blanket when needed. Had a nice catch on a 2nd and long, a nice diving catch. Had a nice catch a little earlier, and was lowering the helmet a little bit. He was getting physical. I like the work that the tight ends were able to do, because Colson Loveland had a big moment on 3rd and 13 as well, picking up a first down in that fourth quarter. So I like what the tight ends are doing. They're getting more involved in this offense. I love seeing that. And I want to shout out a couple guys on defense. Tremaine Edmonds had another really nice game. He's filled in for TJ Edwards as the top linebacker on this team very nicely. I've always considered TJ Edwards to be the top linebacker on this team since that duo with Edwards and Edmonds was established. But Tremaine Edmonds is playing up to his contract, his big contract this year. He's got some big shoes to fill, with Noah Sewell taking the duties of TJ Edwards more often than not this year. I like what Tremaine Edmonds did today. First time I'm going to praise Grady Jarrett. He provided a little bit of pressure, didn't really get rewarded with a sack or anything, but he did have that pressure that led to the Kevin Byard interception, which Kevin Byard, being a leader on this team, now leading the entire league in INTs with 5 of them this year. Gotta love to see that. And then I want to highlight Nashawn Wright. His coverage has been fine this year. But for a backup to nab 4 interceptions this year with the way he's been playing is really awesome. And I know that this one was really emotional. It was not only an amazing interception in front of Jordan Addison late in the first half in the end zone. Love to see that, but it's an emotional pick for Wright. It's up against his former team. He's now picked off McCarthy twice. He was on the Vikings practice squad last year. They cut him. He's now, getting some payback. And it's for his head coach, his former head coach, John Beam, who had passed away this week. Very emotional day for Wright, and I'm glad to see he was rewarded with an INT today. And then I want to shout out Devin Duvernay. The guy's had such a nothing season. He's fair catching a lot of punts. And we'll say, it's nice that he can catch the ball off a punt, Velus Jones. But his work on kickoffs have been largely unremarkable. He's getting to the 25 to the 30 every time. It's not great, but hey, he's not dropping the football. I'll tell you that much. That's better than what we had seen the last couple of years. But he had his first truly game-changing moment today with the kickoff return after the Vikings had just taken the lead. Immediately, pretty much got outside of the Vikings 40. We were in field goal range at that point. And that was a big reason why Caleb Williams didn't have to do anything on that drive. There's all 3 timeouts. They could just run it 3 times and then go out and kick the game-winning field goal. That was all they needed to do. And that was, I think, what the right thing to do was. But it doesn't happen without Devin Duvernay's return, so got to give some props there. Last thing I want to talk about here. Caleb Williams brought Cairo Santos to his post-game interview with Tom Rinaldi. And he insisted that he was there with him because he had a big impact on the game. Of course, hit the game-winning field goal, and he wanted to shine a spotlight on someone else on this team. And I love that because Caleb Williams has proven to me and to a lot of people in this Bears fan base he is a team guy and a true leader for this team. And I love that. I think that's just amazing because the amount of garbage that I had to hear and sit and read and listen to people talk about Caleb Williams in the offseason about his ego is too big. He's a selfish guy. Look at his body language on the sideline. Oh, I don't think the guys in the locker room are going to get behind him. I don't trust him to be a humble guy in the locker room. He paints his nails. Absolute garbage. He is proving all of those people wrong this season with his conduct. I mean, go back and watch the post-game locker room speech he gave after they beat the Giants. What was the first thing that came out of his mouth? It's not all about me. There's a great team effort. It's all three phases. The guy has become a true leader. The guys in this locker room want to play for him. The guys in this locker room love playing with him. He's become everything that I wanted it out of a quarterback and out of a leader. He has squashed every single pre-draft, off-season hit piece that he has received. It has been ridiculous. I'm so happy that Caleb Williams is destroying all the narratives that were set and written about him as he was coming into the league and throughout this offseason. He cried with his mom after a loss. He paints his nails. He's not man enough to play quarterback. He doesn't have the toughness to be a quarterback in the NFL, especially for the Chicago Bears. That guy's tough as nails. How many hits has he taken throughout his career? He was like he was the most sacked quarterback last season. He was sacked nearly 70 times. He has been hit a ton throughout his career. Hasn't missed a game. I don't even think he's missed a snap. The guy is durable. Not only as well as clutch. He's durable. He's been available. He has started every game that he hasn't had a chance to play for the Bears. It's so refreshing to have a quarterback that I can trust to go down and win a football game. Even though the Bears blew that lead and Jordan Addison scored a touchdown with 50 seconds left. I was like, okay, you left too much time though. 50 seconds left, all 3 timeouts, and all I need is a field goal? Yeah, I trust Caleb Williams to get them down there. And next they get Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. At home. Aaron Rodgers gets to play one more game at Soldier Field. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. This is a perfect example of a game that I am very nervous about. Even though they've been winning, they're letting teams hang around. They're still finding ways to win, but they're keeping it very close. And now they're welcoming a guy who has beaten you to the ends of the earth throughout his career with the Green Bay Packers, trying to stake an ownership claim one last time. He's the reason for my most popular videos on this channel. And he has been so clutch against the Bears. Who's going to be more clutch on Sunday next week? Aaron Rodgers or Caleb Williams? That's the thing. If Caleb Williams is able to out-clutch Aaron Rodgers, he's my quarterback for the next 10, 15 years, seriously. I don't care. Because if he can beat Aaron Rodgers in a clutch, like if the game gets close late, and Aaron Rodgers scores a clutch touchdown with like 40 seconds left, and then Caleb Williams goes down to go win the game right after that, we got a quarterback. That's it right there. As if the last couple weeks haven't proven to you that enough. Anyways, that's next week. I'm going to enjoy this. I'm not going to apologize for winning, especially within the division. It's a nice Bears win. They're 7-3 for the first time since 2018. The most games that Matt Eberflus won in a season with the Bears as head coach was 7. Ben Johnson has already done that, and it's mid-November. So, safe to say, moving on from Eberflus was the right decision, and hiring Ben Johnson was a good move. So anyways, I've gone on for long enough, as I usually do with these videos, so I gotta cut it off. My voice is feeling it right now, and I should probably stop talking. So that's gonna do it for this video. Oh man, that should prove it to you right there. Give it a like if you enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button if you really did and want to see more videos from me. Keep the conversation going in the comments section below. Let me know what you think about yet another Bears win. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.